Welcome to my last project named the Final Portfolio Project. This project will consist of me going over all four projects done prior to this project. It'll show my ups and downs, the pros and cons, and what I have learned throughout this whole process of this 8 weeks. I hope you all enjoy, and this is all possible due to Ms. Echiara's teaching. As we're going into chapter one, I want to show all four projects that were done before my last project. And these projects consisted of literary analysis, visual analysis, annotated bibliography, and then the research paper. All of these projects really helped me understand and get better at writing. From each one to the next, I learned and learned. As the weeks went on in my English 1302 class, I started to reflect on each one of my projects and what made them connect. I sat down and thought about it for a while. I came up with the conclusion on how my papers are connected. My first paper was an in depth analysis of a short story called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, written by Ursula K. Le Guin. What I gathered from the first short story is that the story focuses on the dystopian aspect of a seemingly utopian society. It comes down to ideology and how people are treated within Omelas. The people shown on the surface are seen to be content and very happy while also having the best technology available for them. This all comes at a cost, though, when you later find out that a child needs to suffer for these luxuries to happen. This is the first time I have seen utopia and dystopia in a story before. The second essay we did was a visual analysis essay. They had to be there had to be a movie poster that relates to the theme of the story of Omelas. I picked the movie Get Out due to the connection and theme that it had for Omelas. The poster shows a family full of joy and not so joyful person that seems to be struggling. The poster could be seen as a utopia due to the joy the family portrays, while dystopia is shown in the man crying in the poster. After finishing up the movie poster for analysis, I then worked on my annotated bibliography. The research I did for my annotated bibliography was about child labor in the workforce. This connects to OMLOS by showing how children are used for others' advantages and how these people only do it for their greed. It was shown in OMLOS by one child having to suffer for all to live a prosperous life, while in the real world, children are exploited in the workforce by different companies. I found many articles that I added to my annotated bibliography that show new child labor laws being proposed and the exploitation of children in the workforce. This adds to the theme that shows how the exploitation of a certain group leads to a better life for others. This leads to my fourth essay, which is focused on child labor. I was able to use my research from my annotated bibliography to my advantage. This led to me being able to write my essay about child labor easily due to the prior research. Child labor, as mentioned before in the annotated bibliography, is a way for people to use children in exploitative behavior for their gain. All four of the papers I've written for my English 1302 class have had similar ideas when looking at them. All of them show some sort of utopia and dystopia happening at the same time. They all show one group of people using another group to their advantage. In the first essay written in my English 1302 class, I wrote about the ones who walk away from Omelas, written by Ursula K. Le Guin. This was already mentioned before, but I want to start breaking these section by section so I can understand what I did right and what I did wrong for each one of these projects. I learned a lot when I finished writing this essay. This was one of my first times looking at a short fictional story to write about, and then looking at other people's opinions on a short fictional story. I was usually used to only giving my take on a short story and not adding other authors' ideas into it whenever I read a story in English class. But this led to strengthening my writing skills and helped me in the future when I wanted to get a second opinion on a topic that I was writing about. And this would go for my research, visual, and annotated bibliography when I did research for all three of those. If I could go back to this essay, I would like to try to separate the different ideas of what a utopia and a dystopia are inside of Omelas. I feel as if I could have done a better job of elaborating my paper for it to have more passion. I also added other elements as well into the literary analysis. For example, how morality has a huge part in it, and how it was difficult for me and this was kind of difficult for me due to me having to understand how to connect both the idea of dystopia and utopia and the idea of morality. I did strengthen my abilities though in understanding the deeper meaning within a story. I found it easier to do when I took my time and did not rush the reading. I could have explored the people who left Omelas better, in my opinion, but as of me doing my first essay for this English class, I don't think I did a bad job. I think I did a alright job and I could have explored more, but it taught me a lot about exploring and researching a fictional story and how to break it down. I learned to not assume when reading the story and to use what the story is telling you because assuming could lead to ideas that have nothing to do with the main theme. I also could have explored the torture that the child in this short story goes through as well, and how it is described within the story. These are the things that I feel as if I could have improved on, and there are a lot of things that I have improved on from this one essay. I have improved on my research and my writing from this essay. I've learned that every story has a deeper meaning to it, but things I should improve on or get better at is me making sure to go down a narrow path when researching and not making assumptions or going down a whole other path. I also want to work on just working on just overall rushing and reading. I felt like I rushed a little bit when I read this story, but not as bad as I have been in the present lately. I have been rushing only in the first essay, maybe in the visual analysis, but I have been slowing down way more during my annotated bibliography and my research paper. After we finished up with the literary analysis, our next project in the class was visual analysis. The visual analysis was my favorite essay that I did in this class, due to me being a huge movie buff myself. I made sure to pick a poster that matched a similar theme to the ones who walk away from Omelas. This movie poster that I had chose to pick, as mentioned before, was Get Out. I believe I was able to use my learnings from my first essay, which was literary analysis, and apply them here. When I first started writing my visual analysis, I was not looking at the poster's intricate details and the meanings behind them. I first wrote my rough draft and then looked at the poster again. Then I saw things that I had not seen before, and I wanted to make sure I captured those in my paper. Things that I had missed in the first draft of the poster were how the utopian like pictures were on the top of the poster, while the dystopian like pictures were on the bottom of the poster, showing that everything that is shown seems to be what it actually seems to be. I also failed to see the ways that they colored each different shard of glass. Each picture was either full of vibrant colors or they were dark and gray, going with this what is seen on the surface and what the reality is. I believe that I did a good job of breaking the poster down, piece by piece, and understanding why each detail put into the poster was there. Breaking down each part helped me infer the main idea and see the underlying tone which could be seen within this poster. A problem that occurred to me when writing the visual analysis started from the very beginning. I was stuck on how to start the analysis and how I could have made it make sense to Omelas. I then took more time looking at the poster, and that is when I noticed the unsettling nature that this poster brings. This is when I started being able to see the poster in sections. If I had a chance to go back into this essay and fix it, I would try to put as much attention into each detail. I spent more time on one than I did with others. This led to me not focusing as much on other key parts of the poster that it showed. I also want to fix how I kept repeating myself. I would cut out sentences, words that I felt I was using way too much. After we were done with the visual analysis, we then started working on our annotated bibliography. The annotated bibliography was a very, very interesting project that I have done because I've never done anything like it before. Whenever I did the annotated bibliography, when trying to find and select my sources, I found reliable information. I did this by trying to find unbiased views on my subject as much as possible. Surprisingly, for the topic that I was talking about on exploitation of children in the workforce and child labor laws, I was able to find many different articles to back up that research. This helped me make the research process easier and helped me stay down to the narrow path I was trying to research. One challenge that I did face when writing this essay was piecing each of my sources together. What I mean is that it was difficult on some parts to make each source related to one another and not go down a different path from what my focus was when I was researching. Even though all the sources help back up my claim for my research, I feel as if sometimes I was straying away from the path that was my research and going down a whole separate path. I was able to find very reliable sources, though, from scholarly websites that are written by professionals, which I found to be very, very helpful. And then, whenever I was looking for throughout the articles and the different sources, I made sure to look for keywords. And these keywords were able to help me find words inside of these articles and sources that would help me with my main research, which is workforce exploitation against children. I made sure to keep my research in a narrow line, as said before, and then I did. Then I was able to find what I needed to and add the important parts from each of these sources into my bibliography. I used the Control F feature where you type in a number or a name or any kind of word, and it will tell you how many times that word shows up inside of your source. I was able to do that, and it helped me out tremendously when trying to find what sources I would use for my annotated bibliography. The skills that I believe I have strengthened due to this bibliography research are researching my critical thinking skills. These parts of the bibliography are the most important in my opinion, so that is why I focus so much on these key parts, due to keeping a narrow focus. I believe that it helped me out a lot with both researching and critical thinking. I was able to find important details that I could use in my research and was able to find important details due to me being able to think better. A part that I would like to develop more is not writing as much in my annotated bibliography, whether that be repeating phrases, words, or just sentences. I feel as if I repeated myself a lot when writing my bibliography. I've come across the same problem in the past due to me not having so much just going on in my mind that I always try to put it down on paper. This led to me writing way more than I should have. Next time I'm going to try my best, and this is for my research paper. I made sure to write as little, not as little, but as condensed and as impactful as possible and not stray away from my main idea. Overall, I believe that this essay that I did called the Annotated Bibliography, I did a very, very great job at, and I really do think that this our project really helped me out a lot. And I feel as if with these skills that I've gotten from the annotated bibliography, I will be able to use for the rest of my life, and it will help me tremendously in trying to research a topic or article or anything that has to do with researching. For our fourth project, we did research synthesis. For research synthesis, we got our annotated bibliography and we moved it over to our research paper, which would be our research synthesis. Mine was over the child labor and how it is exploited in America. I feel like when looking for sources credit, like when I was looking for my sources, when looking for source credibility for my essay, I made sure that the sources I chose were from scholarly websites or news sites within the state I was searching about. The sources had a lot of relevance due to the topic that I was searching for. For example, when I was looking into the child labor laws within Florida, the scholarly websites that I found about child labor laws were well searched and helped me gain information on the child labor laws. When I wanted to go to a direct source within a state, I used an actual main news source coming from the state. I did this with Ohio, for example. I made sure when determining what to add to the essay that these different sources I've chosen didn't take long to find what I needed. I was able to find my quotations inside of the articles by looking for keywords as mentioned before in my annotated bibliography. And then as of now, I remember the challenges that I did face when doing this research synthesis. The research synthesis challenges that I faced were analyzing different sources and seeing different perspectives on the situation I was researching and how interesting that I found them. The hardest thing that I found out to be was shortening each pattern to the most important details within the source. And with all the information I had to look at, it was a difficult challenge to narrow down my research and only find details that would help with my overall research synthesis paper. I was able, though, after a while, to make a good conclusion with each source by finding the key details and understandings of the overall idea that each source is trying to show. I made sure to do this well, and I made sure that I learned from past experiences and made sure to develop a clear essay structure. And I realized that I needed to take my time as I wasn't in literary and visual analysis paper. I now took my time, and it was a lot better than it was before, and I realized that the assignment helped strengthen my ability to narrow down specific points that I wanted to make, and I was able to grab the sources from my annotated bibliography, as mentioned before, and information, and I made sure to use that to my advantage, and that is why I believe that my research synthesis paper was the best I did in this class. For the future of my English career, I want to make sure that I take all of these new and improved skills that I have made in Miss Dechiara's class, and those skills that I have made are the following. Number one, I am very, very happy to say that I'm very good now at researching articles and sources and to find the best credible ones now. Number two, I'm way better at doing MLA format, and I'm very excited to use it in the future when doing another English class. Number three, I am now knowing what is credible and what isn't. I know that's kind of number one, but I know how to now understand what author is credible and which ones aren't. Thank you so much, Ms. SGR, for teaching us how to be a better writer, as I will use this in the future, hopefully pursuing my main career and becoming a writer for Hollywood. I've always wanted to write movies and scripts, and I really hope in the future that my dream will come true due to this great teaching and more teaching I will have in the future. Goodbye.